books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting, books, 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 ting. Shelve it! Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That would have sounded very natural to you because you are an American author, one of the best living authors on this planet. Welcome to the 2023 Eggs Book Club. It's Castle Freeman.
Thank you very much. Very glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being on the book club. As you know, I'm a big fan of yours. I've been a big fan of yours for a very long time, since I read the first book of yours, Go With Me. I just thought it was amazing, very differently written. You had a poetic style, reminiscent of Brautigan, who I was a massive, big fan of Richard Brautigan. And it was really refreshing. And I think sometimes books that change your life are the ones that you read that they're so refreshing in style that you just want to read more. So I did.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah.
And more. And more.
Oh,
and more.
there you go. I think you got them all now.
Oh, I think there's two that I haven't actually got that are like, I think they might be collections of short stories.
Yes, right.
I think to get over here, but I'll be having a look through the bookshops in America next time I'm there. But what happened recently, right, which knocked me for six, is that I found out you had two new books out in, was it 2020?
I or before, I don't remember exactly.
But they came out in lockdown and completely passed me by, because I remember the one before that was The Devil in the Valley, was it not?
Yep.
And as soon as it came out, I rushed to get it. And normally for me with your stuff, as soon as it comes out, I can't get it fast enough. But not only one, but two. And yeah, this is the Eggs Book Club book, Children of the Valley, and we will be having all number 5 very shortly. I'm reading a different book at the moment as a palate cleanser, do you know, because I think it's quite good. Because otherwise I read too much of your stuff and then it's like there's no more to go. Do you know what I mean?
How many?
It's like I'm saying I've read this, but I'm reading some other stuff in between, going on to that one, because you need kind of like a palate cleanser, do you know? It's like eating your favorite stuff too quick. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
there was more
to say.
I've talked a lot, so I'm going to let you talk now, because we're really glad to have you here, and you're such a special writer. And one of the things that I noticed about your books, from the very first one that I read, Go With Me, to the last one, is that they're all very locally set up in Vermont. And I wondered if you could tell me about that. Is that important to you?
Oh yeah, that's very important to me. I'm not a native Vermonter. I was born in Texas and I grew up in Chicago. I didn't come here until I met Alice, and have been here since 1972, I guess. But no, I came here and immediately felt that this is where I ought to be, and so I have stayed, and here we are.
And I noticed, like, in your books, like a lot of them, they're very observational in style. The conversations that you have with your characters within them, it feels like you've been closely watching people. You know, you've got the local patter down to a complete T. And it's funny, as someone from Lancashire reading it, even though this is American lingo, if you will, and American kind of patter and colloquialisms and stuff, it really makes me smile, because I can see your community in my community. You know, the local characters and the you know, the stuff that people whinge on about, and that sort of thing. I mean, how much of the books generally, or your characters, how much of them are based on real life? Or
I think very little or none are based on real events or people. I haven't ever been tempted to try to put real people in my books. On the contrary, but I'm of course interested in my setting and in my neighbors, and so I have I've that's been a very important part of the writing that I've done.
yeah, I mean, it seems like I can't understand how you can write in such a way that feels like the warmth of these characters really comes across. Do you know, I think that's a real skill that you've got. It just seems so real, the conversations, the patter, that sort of thing, in a way that I've never really read before.
My hope is that there will be humor in there, in that. That's my main mission, and so I'm glad to hear you say what you do.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of humor. I mean, there's so much humor, but it's just in real life. Do you know what I mean? It's not slapsticks funny. It's the stuff that happens in normal life that you manage to pick out and show and shine a light on, and that is funny. I mean, like it's in Children of the Valley. There's a chapter, and we learn about Wingate. He goes to live in a nursing home, and he's got his his car, but he's an absolute lethal in his car, and yep. It's just so funny, but everyone knows that person, don't they? In their community.
Oh, sure.
It's just great. I'm gonna have to read some of it. He says is that all right, or is he going to embarrass you? He also hit the trees, fences, houses, and other obstacles of the valley. There was the problem. Wingate, solitary, isolated, dwindling miserably away in his hovel on Bible Hill, was a danger to himself only. Wingate at the wheel was a danger to all. He didn't see well. He seemed not always aware of his surroundings or of his speed. He drove halfway up the steps of the county courthouse. He tore the driver's side mirrors off every vehicle parked along Back Street in Cardiff. He drove off the road in Dead River and plunged a dozen feet down the bank and into the brook. It was confidently expected Wingate would soon either kill himself or demolish his truck, or with any luck, both. Neither happened. Wingate and his rig were indestructible, immortal. The valley waited uneasily. Perfect. I mean, who doesn't know someone like that? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's great fun to write too.
Oh, it's real. I mean, the Times, did you know, describes your writing as spare and meditative. And I think in a lot of the books there is you can learn a lot from the characters in their sort of mantra. Do you know what I mean? Their approach to life, sort of the slow pace.
Yes. Well, that goes with the rural life, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that you capture that wonderfully, but I guess this might be uncomfortable for you, me just, blowing smoke up your ass and saying how great your writing is.
You said now that it reminds you of your own history, and so are you from a rural area?
No, not rural, but not big either. A small town called Lancaster.
Oh yeah,
and we know, everyone knows everyone else. Yep. It's a really small community. It's not rural. Well, we have like farmland outside the town, but it is a town. But everyone knows everyone else. Everyone knows everyone's business. When something big happens in town, the rumors go, around like wildfire, that sort of thing. And I just think I guess that's one of the reasons that made me really love your books, is I could relate to it big style. But
right.
I guess it's hard to unlock the magic. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to ask you, how do you do it? But maybe you don't even know.
Well, not 100%, perhaps. I write the kind of contents that I enjoy and that makes me smile, and uh, that's just the way it happens.
Now, I was wanting to ask you a question, which is, do you actually know your local sheriff?
No, I did. I mean, I was acquainted. I had met the fellow that was sheriff until a couple of years ago, but I don't know.
I just had this thought that, you know, you would be like that.
No,
You got all your inspiration.
no, that's made up.
You write about the police so well. Have you any, you know, like, how do you do a lot of research before you start writing, or is it just how you imagine stuff?
It's pretty much how I imagine stuff. I don't do much research at all. I'm familiar with the main outlines of the society around here, and that comes from my living here. But I don't take notes on people or I'm not that deliberate about it all. I go for the quick laugh, I guess.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
My life, and I've never quite read a book like it. Do you know, like with each entry, there's the rain, the temperature. You know,
That's probably the fourth book of that kind that exists anymore. Very few people have read that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just love the way that this guy writes. And he puts at the end of each entry, it's like a diary entry, isn't it? And he writes the date, the year, the temperature, what the weather is, what the snow's doing, whether it's sticking or not,
right?
Who he owes money to. Yeah, it's exceptional. And this one was the one that where Hollywood came knocking on your door, I believe. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that book was published. I can't remember the year anymore, but there was interest from a movie company, and they bought the rights and went ahead and made a small budget movie, but it wasn't completely small budget because we had Anthony Hopkins was the star, and Ray Liotta was the star, and there were a couple of other pretty well-known people. So that's my closest brush with with success so far in the literary business, I guess.
And have you seen the film?
What?
Did you see the film?
Oh, have I seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, we have a CD or whatever, so I have seen it.
What's that like, watching the film, like, compared to you?
Oh, it was great. It was kind of surreal. It was kind of surreal in a way. I mean, suddenly here's this stuff coming at you that is familiar but yet not, and so that was a pretty original experience from my point of view.
Yeah, like I was talking to, I can't remember who it was the other week, I was talking to about books films that are made of the book. And there's only a few occasions when they make a film that's as good as the book.
Right. That's very.
And because I think the books are so great, because in all of your books, like say in Children of the Valley, I've got it all mapped out in my head, what the landscape looks like. I've never been to Vermont, so it could be completely different. But to me, I've got it all mapped out, and how the roads are, and where the sheriff's station is, and where what's the place called where they all parted in that big it was like a big barn that burned down. Hollywood, was it? I'm forgetting the name of it.
The name of which?
Holidays, that was it. Holidays.
Oh, the women at Holidays.
Yeah, and the bar, didn't they have a bar next door that burnt down?
Yeah, that's a story. I mostly write short stories.
Yes. So it's like I've got that all in my head, exactly how it looks to me. And when I see a film, it never quite it's never quite as good as your own imagination. Do you know what I mean? Or it's different to it.
Yeah.
And never the two kind of match up. So, yeah, I did see the film. I'll just say it wasn't as good as the book.
I guess not. But it was interesting, especially since I really adore Anthony Hopkins. So to see Anthony up there delivering lines that I wrote is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine. So when's the next Hollywood blockbuster being made, eh?
Well, I have a possibility of another film TV deal, but on the from people that live around here that I know, a writer, but that's a long way from reality, and who knows whether anything will come of it or not, especially since today the movie business is pretty much closed down out in California now, because the writers and screenwriters are on strike. So
okay,
nothing doing. And so if that gets settled and the business starts up again, then perhaps those people will continue to be interested in making a book out of my story. I hope.
Yeah. Do you know which one they going to go for? These two new ones.
I think they're going to do a kind of a combo of the first three.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't know for sure. I haven't read anything that they've written. They're doing their thing, and I did my thing. So
you need to get the Cohen Brothers on that. They'd be brilliant.
I'm aware of it. I'd love to get the Cohen Brothers.
Wouldn't they? We need to do a campaign to get the Cohen Brothers to do it. They'd just be perfect.
Yeah, it would.
I think if they did it, I think that possibly they would make a film that would equal the book. They're the only people I would think I would trust to deliver.
Oh, they're wonderful
on your stuff. They're great, aren't they? Tell me, I won't take up too much more of your time, but I have to talk to people about books. Like, is reading for you a bit of a busman's holiday because you are actually a writer, or do you still enjoy it? Or did you ever enjoy it, or did you just do it?
Oh, that's the dog. Hang on. Oh yes, and you're asking me if I have read.
Yeah, like, do you still like? Basically, do you read? Because if you're a writer, do you have any time to read?
Oh no,
do you even want to read?
I read a lot.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do every day, and sometimes for longer parts of the day than I should. I'm a lifelong reader.
And tell me, what sort of stuff do you read?
Well, mostly I read novels. But I've also interested in history, American history, English history, that all that sort of thing. Let's see. But I am a reader.
And like, can you tell me, like, what if you went to a desert island, what your desert island book would be?
Oh gosh, there'd be a lot of books. I'm a big fan of the moderns, the American and English language moderns, like say Faulkner and Hemingway and James Joyce and even going back to Jane Austen and people like that. So I don't break new grounds. I believe in the classic, and so I do. That's where I read.
Have you tackled Ulysses then?
Oh yeah, I've read Ulysses 4 or 5 times. I love Ulysses.
God.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not. I haven't. I read Gravity's Rainbow.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, and it scarred me quite badly in terms of it was tough, to get through. And in the final days of reading it, I had to write. Like, I have to read 10 pages a day or 20 pages a day to get through it. Like, it was like exercise. It was
not much fun.
Yeah, no, not fun at all.
No.
And I read it, and I was glad I read it, but I certainly wouldn't rush to read it.
no, I have read Gravity's Rainbow, and I also know the other book that I like by that author Pynchon is V. You read V
No,
by Thomas Pynchon? Well,
not
give that
yet.
a try. Maybe that will come. Maybe that will reach you better. But that's a good one. And then, yeah, I do. I love Ulysses and all of Joyce's short stories. A great figure for me, important fellow for me.
And is it a difficult read, Ulysses? Because did you find it difficult? Because it's notorious to be that, which is what is putting me off. You know, it's like the Everest of the book world. I can't quite.
Well, I guess I find the same. But except it's not quite as much of a chore for me. I like that writing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I like writing, and I don't mind reading stuff that's tough to read, but I don't like a perpetual state of confusion for weeks on end. I'm not that keen on that, are you?
I know what you mean. Your suffering is not alone.
I always say it's like a bad trip. You're going through it and you think, at the end of Gravity's Rainbow, I got to the end and I was like, something's happened to me during this. It's gone in a subliminal way.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know what has happened to me exactly. And if someone said, could you tell me the plot of Gravity's Rainbow? I would say, absolutely not.
Me neither. Have you read Infinite Jest?
No, but I was going to say that because one of my friends suggested that I read it after I'd finished Gravity's Rainbow. So I don't know whether I should really call them a friend, because they were obviously really wanting me to jump out of the frying pan and straight into the fire. And I went to Waterstones, which is a bookshop in England. And I got the book out. I was going to buy it, and I'm not fazed by thick books at all. But I got that book out, and as I was going to the till, I opened it to look at the print, look inside, and the print size was minuscule. And I was like, I'm going to have to buy a magnifying glass to read this. So I just put it back. I was already cross with Gravity's Rainbow, and I thought, I'm not doing it to myself.
No, I did the same. I had the same experience. I can't get into the David Foster Infinite Jest. I burn out about page 2, and the tiny type is also a problem for me. So I'm going to take a pass on that fellow. I think.
They need to split it into 2 volumes, don't they?
I guess so. I'm not sure.
Because but then at least, yeah, because another thing that I can't do is hardback books. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because I'm a big fan of Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, I like Cormac too.
I've got all of his books. And he's got 2 new books out.
Yeah, I read one of them.
Oh, yeah, and?
I read, what was the title that you just said?
Oh, I don't know what they were called, actually, but I can look them up.
The new Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't know what they were called. I'll look it up. He's got 2.
No, but it's I've read one of those. I enjoyed that, but I liked other Cormacs better. I think there's nobody quite like Cormac.
There isn't. I agree. I'm going to look it up now on my phone. This will look good for you. Cormac McCarthy novels. The Passenger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it that one?
Yeah, I just finished that one.
Well, I'm going to read both when they come out in paperback.
Yeah. I think I got mine as a present, so it's I enjoyed it. I didn't think my favorite Cormac is Blood Meridian.
Really?
Yeah, I like Blood Meridian, and I more than I did The Passenger far. And then I like the one that the well-known movie was made of, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
I think that's terrific.
I like that. My favorite is Sutri.
Is who?
Sutri.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
And oh, I can't remember what the other one. Is it
Cormac just died,
the
you know.
Keeper? I know.
Yeah,
Recently,
yeah,
fairly
it was the
recently.
past couple of weeks. Yeah,
I know he's like amazing, really great author.
yeah.
And you mentioned Hemingway as well.
Oh yeah, I like him.
So which is your favorite by him?
What?
What's your favorite by Hemingway? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I guess I like his stories.
Yeah.
You know, they're called In Our Time, I think. Those I like those stories. I like his Northern Michigan books, stories set up in Northern Michigan. So I like all of those. And I
I've
also
read those.
like Faulkner.
Okay. And which Faulkner would you recommend? Because I've not read much Faulkner.
Oh, well, um, let's see.
As I lay dying.
Hmm?
As I lay dying.
As I Lay Dying, Alice reminds me of. That's a good one by Faulkner.
Sounds a bit depressing, is it?
That so
Well,
as I Lay Dying is a good one, and then many of the other ones. He can be very difficult as a writer too. You can read on and have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay.
And that, I mean, I have a high tolerance for that, I guess, but it is noteworthy.
It sounds like you do if you've read Ulysses 5 times.
Yeah, well, I don't think not 5, but maybe 4.
Don't you need to get this on the back of the book? Wonderful. Every paragraph a gem. Plus this author has read Ulysses 5 times.
Right.
It's something that you should. It's an accolade that you could definitely have on the back of a book cover.
Say what?
It's an accolade that you could definitely have on the back of a book cover. The amount of times you've read Ulysses.
Yes.
And you still create very. I mean, like. You say in a few sentences what other authors would take a lot of.
Well, that's a real compliment. Thank you.
And that is beautiful, though. And that is what I love about your writing so much. It's like the powerfulness and the poeticness and the spareness of it, has got its own style. And I'm going to blow smoke up your ass again. But it's when an author has their own style, that is when an author is really great to me. I'm sure I could read one of your books in a blind test and I would be able to know it was you immediately because you have your own style. And sort of Cormac McCarthy had that, and Richard Brautigan certainly had that, but there are certain authors who have that, and there's a poeticness to their writing and a way with words and a beauty with the written word, which not all authors have. And there are other books I've read which are absolutely belting books, but they're just a really great book because it's a great story, But you didn't have a style. They have a story, but not a style. And you have both. So that's why I love your. That's why I love your stuff so much.
Thank you. It's a tough business, and you don't get a lot of praise. And I'm happy to have what I can get from you. Thank you.
Well, I try as much as I can to spread the word, about your work and it is getting round. I was out with my friend the other day and I said, she said, oh, I'm reading Castle Freeman at the moment. And I said, are you joking? How do you know about him? She was like, oh, I saw it on your book club. So I was looking for something new to read and I'm giving it a go. So one person at a time.
Yes, right. Right.
But some people in Lancaster might start to read your books.
Well, that would be wonderful.
But yeah, this never probably happens, and I'm really grateful for you giving up the time to do a chat with me.
Oh, of
I
course.
feel a bit fangirly because not many people get to meet their favorite authors.
No, very few, I suppose.
Yeah.
Especially
And I didn't want to ask you many questions. I didn't want to, grill you on this book because it's hard to answer stuff, isn't it? I think when you're talking about art, which I think this is, what can you say? I feel like maybe creating it is quite personal, and I think maybe reading it's quite personal. So I thought I'd stay clear of just grilling you about the characters and, all of that sort of stuff, because
yes,
I think what people need to do is just read it.
that's the hope anyway.
Well, Castle Freeman, thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, Holly, it's my pleasure, and I'm in your debt. I hope we'll be in touch.
You're in mine, and I'm gonna send you some books now. I know that you read.
Good.
I'll send you some of my
Don't
favorites.
stand in a jest.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say don't. I'll send it up ripped.
Yeah.
More pieces. No, thank you so much. It's it's been great, and I daren't ask when the next one is out because I hate it when people ask me like
Well, I have an interesting situation there. I have a couple of books coming out at the end of this year and the beginning of next, but they're coming out in German. They're the same books you've been talking about, but they're translations. I don't have anything coming out in English at this time, but I mean, although I hope to.
Well, keep on, keep on keeping on, because you've got a lot. There are people like me all around the world who are dying to read more. So thank you for filling our vessels with good written language. It's a beauty to drink in.
Well, thank you, Howard. It's a great pleasure.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.